he didn't believe in Paul Childers when he first met him.
Yeah.
You're like, you don't know what you're talking about.
You ready to go?
Sure.
Okay.
We're ready.
Yeah, my dad gave me this. It's a boxer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
Hey, and Andrew
Careful. 'cause it's
Zaragoza did.
You broke it?
Is that why you think I break everything?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I
If
wasn't
you-
sure.
If you punch the thing too much, the red thing falls off because Andrew
The red
fucked it
thing,
up.
the
on that.
punching
He was like
Andrew-
going like this, and then it.
I wasn't going that hard.
He raged on it.
Man,
You ever seen that before?
I can't believe he's such an asshole. And I can't believe he hates your dad so much.
That's not it at all.
I know,
why,
right?
why do you hate Papa Mike so bad?
Yeah, my dad tries to get
I know.
something nice for the podcast table. He
Yeah.
invests a lot of money and time into purchasing this amazing.
I mean, he failed getting something nice, but I mean, still, he fucking tried.
yeah,
Un segundo.
he must
You
have
got
got
a
to set
poop
some
already?
yard sale or something.
Oh no. No, I mean it's a thing that
You can tell when
punch.
Nsima has to poop because he holds his butt.
Well,
He's
that's
not
what he did
holding it,
earlier
yeah.
today. He was sitting here talking to me in April, and then he just went like this. He goes, "Oh, that's the one."
I'm gonna get some water for this.
The hell,
And
And all right.
are we?
Andrew?
were
Are
we,
you supposed
were
to
we
be
already
engineering
rolling?
this?
This is nailing it today.
Like, hey guys,
nailing
we're
it.
all ready to go. Yep, ready to go.
You
All
got
right,
the email. That's
and
why
go.
you're here, right?
And then Nsima leaves.
I did get an email.
Was it from Andrew?
I don't know if it was.
I'm trying to check to see if
the
Andrew's doing his job over there. He's not doing his job.
Do you know what his job actually is?
No.
All right. So, I
No.
mean, I don't know if that's for you to tell.
Mm. Yeah, I probably shouldn't be monitoring it. Someone that knows something should monitor him.
Yes.
Mm.
Are you have you been having trouble with the mustache and the microphone?
The microphone has been having issues.
With the mustache.
Yes.
It's wrote you an email.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the
microphone sent an email to your mustache.
The mustache has been weird.
Yeah.
Sometimes you drink down some mustache hair every once in a while.
Delicious.
Yeah.
I was gonna make an off-color joke, but I'm not gonna do it.
Which color was it going to be?
Yeah, let's not. No, stop. Hey, stop there. Stop there. No cancellation for us today.
Oof.
No cancellation for us today.
That's been fun past couple days.
What's going on, Burdick?
Not much, man. How are you?
You popping out babies and stuff?
Oh,
We're done with that.
Oh, okay.
are you sure?
I hope. Yeah.
How's B doing?
Bee's great. Bee's great. She's She's running everywhere. She's at that height and age where really curious and like everything can kill her at any moment or gouge an eye out or something.
She's just like forward leaning, right?
Always.
Like leaning into the big head and just kind of running.
And she's got her hands
Yeah.
like back behind her. And
Oh,
it's
she
just
Naruto runs already.
all forward. Oh yeah.
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 Sick.
It's great.
It's terrifying.
It's
Who's more
terrifying.
scared, you or Katie?
Probably Katie's dad
Mm.
because he comes over and watches her for an hour or two at a time
And
for
he's
us.
petrified.
And like afterwards, he kind of stands up. It's like, oh my god, he's just been bent over like this, just trying to make sure she doesn't die the whole 2 hours as she just runs around the house.
I was pretty much almost always ready to cry because I
Yeah.
was like, they're gonna die, they're gonna die, they're gonna hit into something. He's gonna hit his head on that corner of that thing, and I would like go over and try to like pad the corner and like,
Yeah,
set up a pillow somewhere, and like I'm like, you're gonna just fall so bad.
yeah.
Oh,
And then they fall all the time, and they're totally fine.
yeah.
Yeah,
They're
Aurelius
chubby
doesn't.
for it.
Aurelius doesn't even like crawl yet. He's like, I don't know. He's a slow starter, I guess. I don't know. Or we put him in a pool, right? And so like he like would kick his feet and move forward. So he tries to do that like on the carpet.
Yeah,
It just doesn't work.
yeah.
But same thing. I'm like, oh my god, he's in his like little playpen. What if he rolls over and then like he gets his head pinned against like the sides? I was like, what's gonna happen then? Like, is somebody gonna notice? Like, am I gonna notice? I'm like, oh fuck. So yeah,
Yeah,
I'm always overreacting.
It's
to
super awesome
everything.
being a parent. It's great.
You know those parents who are sometimes like,
it's awesome.
nah, those parents who are like, oh yeah, my kid started crawling at 3 months.
Yeah.
But that shit usually doesn't mean shit. Like it doesn't, it doesn't matter.
No,
you
it
know, it
doesn't.
makes no
It's like your
difference.
kid's gonna sell drugs when he gets older. Don't worry.
He didn't crawl early.
He's definitely not getting into
He's a
that
drug
school.
dealer. Yeah. Well, kiss Harvard goodbye.
I was thinking that.
Oh no.
How are the girls doing? They're in all kinds of sports, right?
They are. They're doing club softball right now and high school volleyball. Casey's on varsity team and Soph's on the JV team. So it's pretty cool. Casey gets to play with a girl who's committed to UCLA to play volleyball. She's 6'4". She's this could be a whole different conversation, but she's
6'4".
6'4". So she's really, really interesting. She's fascinating for a number of reasons. Her father is the offensive coordinator for the Raiders, Greg Olson. Her name is Grace. She has Marfan's syndrome.
Greg Olson, did he play in the league?
I don't know if he played.
Name sounds familiar.
Well, he's the offensive coordinator for the Raiders. Yeah. He was at, I think, Washington State. Mm-hmm. But she had a open heart surgery because of, I think she was senior maybe 2 or 3 years ago, because Marfan's is the pituitary issue where you just grow super fast, right? It's a growth hormone thing. Wow. But since your heart isn't like, it's a muscle, but it's kind of stitched closed to be, so oftentimes it'll grow, everything grows with it. So they detected that she had like a hole in her heart. So they went in there to kind of close it up, and they ended up finding a lot more. So it was supposed to be like a 2 or 3 hour thing, ended up being like a 9-hour surgery or something. So she just to even overcome that and succeed has just been fantastic. And I mean, she's just a monster, a monster. To watch her play is just like, holy crap. It's just a whole different level of volleyball. So it's really cool for Casey to get to kind of see that and see the levels. And, it helps her understand, like, because, that's a goal. She wants to play a sport at a high Division I college. And, she gets to watch her and watch her work and do her thing. So she learns how to do something from someone who's really, really, really successful.
Yeah, you've been studying training for so long, and I know that you specifically been looking into like how kids train and stuff. And I remember like for many years you've been working with kids, playing baseball, all different kinds of sports, and then communicating with people like Jim Wendler, who also works with some youth sports and things like that. Is it an advantage for you to be able to assist your kids that way, or is it kind of like annoying because maybe you see sometimes coaches, especially previously, that maybe just don't have the best practices to assist the kids to get stronger or do some of the things that you believe in?
It's both. Like I try to give a lot of people as much kind of room and grace as I can, because most of the times these are unpaid volunteers doing this work. So if I'm going to complain about it, I should fucking volunteer and do it myself. And I've tried to help out and do some stuff, but they're trying their best. And, as long as the girls are working hard and having fun, it's one of those things. And it's always like, hey, we can find some better coaching and do some stuff like that. And we've been able to do that. But for a while, it's kind of been like daddy ball, where it's like your dad's coaching you and one of these others. And then as you kind of get along, and you kind of have two paths, you can either kind of stay daddy ball rec, or you can kind of go into really competitive stuff. So once we got into the competitive stuff, it's awesome for me, because I put in my headphones and I just walk around, and I don't say anything. I don't do anything. The coaches, they know who I am. The parents know who I am, but I really try not to get involved. And if the girls want to ask me something, that's cool. That's great. I think the biggest advantage that Katie and I have been able to give the girls is knowing how to eat and prioritizing sleep and just recovery in general. They've been sleeping 10 hours a day since they've been 2. They have a better diet than most human beings. They just crush food all the time.
Snacks and stuff like that at your house are still usually pretty healthy. I know the girls like to cook stuff, bake stuff here and there.
Yes.
Not super healthy, but 90% of the time.
They've actually started dipping their toes into like making a lot of like protein muffins and protein cookies. So even though they're eating a cookie, it's got like 8 grams of protein, which is minuscule, but it's better than 0, and it kind of satisfies a little bit of everything. But I think that more than anything has been what we've been able to kind of give them an edge on. Some of the other coaching, when they ask, and because of just the network of people that we have and who we know, we're able to reach out to some really, really high level coaches. And we're like, hey, there's an ex-college coach who's actually up here again in Sac State. She was the girls' like individual softball coach, and she's just amazing, just remarkable. And, people like that we have access to that maybe not everybody else does. So I think those are the advantages. I really try not, I know enough to get myself in trouble and make the girls pissed at me. So I really try to just kind of stay out of it, just work on making sure they're fed and they sleep, and mindset, try and help them set goals and just be motivated. And it's, you understand with kids, it's just like, look, did you have a good time? Yeah. You're happy? Yes. It's like, would you tell me if you weren't? Yeah. Okay, cool. Then, there's not much more than you can do for that, and you got to be happy with that. You can't you can't push them because you never know where they're going to go. You know what I mean? You could push them even further away, which is not necessarily a goal.
How old were they when you got them started in strength training?
Well, they grew up in the gym because I was a single dad. So I had to take the girls with me to the gym. So, I mean, I have pictures of both the girls picking up kettlebells at like 2 years old.
In slingshot knee sleeves.
In slingshot knee sleeves. So they grew up thinking that everybody had a gym, and they would just go and run and, you know, and play. And, you know, I was very fortunate that I was working in a CrossFit gym. So there was CrossFit Kids classes. There's a bunch of like MMA. So there was Muay Thai. I would come in and they would just jump in on an adult Muay Thai class, and they had no idea what they're doing, but they were just there, and the teachers loved them, and they were doing Jiu Jitsu, and they would just work out with like Jackie or Katie or whoever it was. They would just set up a bar and mimic what they were doing and just run around. So, like actual weight training, they wanted to go, but I tried to push it off as far as I could. I would say they started maybe like 6 or 7 or something like that. They did record breakers a couple years. They went to nationals for Olympic lifting. And you know, that's kind of trailed off. Well, Casey will get a bug in her ass every once in a while when one of her teammates shows a video or something. And then so she goes in the garage and like does it for a triple or something. So like she was just like, so-and-so squatted 165. I think I'm going to go in the garage and squat 185 for 3. And I was like, all right, cool. It's like, you're a jerk. I love this. This is great. So, you know, and never pushed trying to go like max weight or anything. It's, you know, just,
there's weights
form.
in the garage and it's just part of your life.
Yeah, exactly. So
then your wife pops in the garage and she'll just jump on the rower or jump on the bike. Right. And it's not always these long, like workouts. Sometimes it's just 15 minutes and you're doing your walks and you're doing your lifting. And so,
yeah, it's just something.
Grew up seeing it, right?
Yeah, it's just something that I think they don't. It's interesting to hear them come home from like school and like, oh, so and so just ate Cheetos for lunch, and I was just like, yeah, that's probably kind of a lot more normal than you think. They're like, really? I was like, yeah, not everyone packs a salad with extra chicken and stuff like you nerds do. So, but that's, you know, they don't know any different, and it's weird because we're like, hey, we're not normal. Not everybody does this, so you can't be like, and when anyone, it's like, hey, we'd like to take the, you know, family, we want to take the girls out. I was like, well, first of all, remember there's 2 of them. Second of all, they're going to want an appetizer. Casey's going to get the ribeye. Sophia's going to get the salmon, and they want cheesecake afterwards. So if you're ready to spend $120, like, go for it. But I just want to warn you, and they kind of look at me like, they're not going to get chicken tenders and fries. I'm like, no.
They're going to get the most expensive.
They're going to get the most expensive thing possible. They're going to take you for everything that you got. So, you know, it's just, I always try and make sure everyone knows what they're kind of getting into and let them know, like, not everyone prioritizes the things that we do. And that's okay. That's their choice. But, you know, it's very important for us. So
I'm actually curious, too, because a lot of people, you know, number one, you are healthy, your wife's healthy. A lot of people kind of mention how, oh, it's expensive to, you know, feed kids this way. Was it actually though? Because like when you think of like a salad and some chicken, it's really not, right?
Right.
But like, is it more expensive to do what you do?
No, it's not, like in general. But if, you know, I tell you, you know, I spend anywhere between $500 and $600 a week at Costco. But when you start breaking that up for a family of 5 for 4 meals a day over a week, it's like $20 or $30 a meal, which I can't take the girls to Starbucks and not spend $70.
Yeah.
Right. So when you really look at it that way, no, it's not. But I make all the food. I cook. You know, we do a lot of meal prep and we take care of things. So when you look at it from a long view, no, it's very cheap to actually do that. But you have to know how to shop, know how to cook, and know how to prepare stuff. And I think that that's a huge proponent that a lot of parents and people do not have. And that's when it gets expensive, because I mean, there's days when we're running around. The thermoses is something that we've used because we had a game that last night that we had to take. The girls got out of school, changed. We drove a half an hour and we stayed until about like 9 o'clock. So everybody packed like 2 thermoses. I made some like meatballs the other day, and those have been huge. But if we would have tried to like eat at Starbucks or grab a something, you know, those are $150, $200 days. And I mean, when you really look at it, you get 2 of those during a day or 2 of those during a week. That makes up any, you know, that makes up me splurging for, you know, the blue styrofoam tri-tip and, you know, and the ribeyes at Costco. So I think the expensiveness comes with ignorance and lack of time management. So if people knew how to, you know, people just generally knew how to cook, just really, really easy stuff. I do super easy shit, and you know, knew how to kind of prioritize their time. It's not that much. That's where it becomes really expensive.
And I'm just curious about this too.
Yeah.
Versus when you see other kids, how often do your kids get sick?
Never.
I think that's a huge thing right there.
Like I had COVID almost 2 months ago, and neither one of them, like Casey took a nap, and that was just because we didn't have anything to do. So I was just like, "Oh, you must be tired." She's like, "Well, I just didn't have anything else to do." So you took a nap, and I was like, they didn't have a temperature. They tested positive, but they're fine, you know. And I mean, yeah, they very rarely, if ever, will get sick. Same thing with Beatrix, you know, same thing. She had a little bit of a fever for a day or two, and that was it. But we all tested positive, and it's a big deal. They're you know, they're growing kids. They're very lean, and they eat really good, and we prioritize sleep. So these are things to try, you know, that we've always done. And you know, if in a daycare situation or school, I mean, Andrew, you'll understand. You know, it's almost impossible for your kids not to get sick. But you know, it's not like in every week you got to hold them home like type of stuff. They've you know they've been in school. You know, well, I don't know if there's a perfect attendance word anymore, but I'm sure that they've had it when we were able to go to school.
When it comes to kids' nutrition, they don't have the same maybe like concern as somebody that you're trying to assist losing like 50 or 60 pounds. They don't have to be as meticulous. And, you know, I know like when I'm over your house, like you guys have awesome convenient stuff around on top of having like good healthy food and having like chicken and beef and salmon and stuff like that. But you also have like bars and things like that, which for some people that are trying to lose weight, sometimes those things are problematic. They can't keep their hands off of those things and they eat too many of them.
Right.
But in the case of kids, like you pack this in their lunch, it's more like part of their day. And then they probably have, I'd imagine they have like less cravings and stuff like that because they have a wide variety of food, and they're probably eating fruit and vegetables and meat. And then every once in a while having like a perfect bar or something like that. When you get to eat like that every day, it feels amazing. And doesn't feel like there's any reason to really be, I mean, you're still going to be pumped about like ice cream and some of those other things, but for kids, they don't have to necessarily worry about the overall amount of calories they're having, especially your girls, because they're athletes, right?
Yeah, I think being active is a huge part of that, where if they were not active, then you're going to kind of have to look at like, hey, maybe, you know, I mean, a perfect bar is what, like 600 calories, right? And I mean, Casey and Sophia could crush 4 of those at a time, and that's a lot.
It's like a big old thing of peanut butter.
Yeah, it's
delicious.
all peanut butter and, you know, added extra fat. So I mean, there's stuff that in other people's situations you might have to kind of take a look at. But yeah, it's and it is fun because the girls go with friends or whatever, and they go to the football game and they eat like corn dogs and stuff, and then come back and they're just like, I feel so terrible. Like I had to run home and hit the bathroom because this is, you know, it just blew me up. And I was like, well, you know, you just got to realize that, and you know, make your decision. Is it worth it to do that or not? And oftentimes it's like, yeah, that's okay. I'm going to save it for, you know, ice cream here and there. And what I think what we try to do is we don't try and really like limit it. Like, no, you can't have that. It's like, look, you can have that, but it's not oh, hey, it's, you know, we just did dinner, it's ice cream. Like, you don't get it all the time. It was like, we're going to skip it today. So then it's just like, oh, okay, it's not an everyday, you know, have to have a dessert type of thing.
Yeah,
so.
In our household, we buy ice cream probably maybe like once or twice a month.
Right.
You know, so it's there, and then it's gone.
Yeah.
And then, you know, it's like we leave it, we let it stay gone for a while, then we buy it again.
Yeah. I think it should be, you know, a treat doesn't become a treat when it's a habit, right? It's like you get a dessert all the time. And it's just like, well, what's fancy about this? Then it has to you have to get bigger, and it has to get crazier and, you know, more shit on it. So, you know, if you keep it kind of just, you know, narrowed down, it's,
what are we talking about? Like chocolate syrup?
Oh, sure. Chocolate.
Caramel?
Yeah.
Some whipped cream?
Absolutely.
All of the above.
All combined in one.
Yeah. How old are your oldest now?
They are 14.
14. Did you have any like at any time period, like when they were growing up, where like you had to actually like say like, no, you can't eat what the other kids are eating, or like, or like they wanted, I don't know, like cereal for dinner every night. And you're just like, hey, like hold on, like we need to change this.
No, I'm trying never to like limit them and really kind of say no.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that, you know, I realized very early on that, you know, they were going to kind of do what I did. And, you know, I don't eat cereal. We don't have cereal in the house. So they're not like, hey, where's the cereal? Or, hey, where's this?
Mm-hmm.
You know, they've asked about like cereal and like, well, cereal is, you know, cereal's okay. What, you know, this person thinks cereal is it's not. Like we eat, you know, eggs and bacon and, you know, like an English muffin for breakfast. And that's kind of what we do. It's like if you're hungry after you eat that, you can have a small bowl of cereal, but it's going to be something else besides just straight
Well, the issue
sugar.
with cereal is that, yeah, it's not going to really give you what you need. Where when you're
Right.
having eggs, let's just say the calories were the exact same. Let's say you use whole milk and you had a bowl of cereal and poop story. Oh, he's
bringing the cereal
he's
over.
grabbing some cereal. If you had some,
whoops.
if you had regular cereal, you know,
Yes.
regular sugary cereal, and you had whole milk and versus eggs and what'd you say, a English muffin or something like that,
Right.
and some bacon, even if the calories were equal, the eggs and the bacon and the bread would carry you through your day longer to where you'd be fuller for longer, and you're actually providing your body with protein. In the case of your children, they are very active and they're playing sports and stuff like that, so it's even helping them with the recovery. Whereas the cereal example is primarily sugar.
Yeah.
You might be getting some protein from your milk, but that's not really anything substantial.
Usually people are drinking fat-free milk as well. So I mean,
Right.
the
Just
sugar
dumping extra sugar on there.
The good stuff.
Hey, but we weren't even planning to talk about this. But when you guys start talking about, I'm sorry, y'all start talking about cereal. Okay, you want to feed your kids some fucking cereal that tastes
Right.
like good.
No,
have they ever had this before though?
No, it's something that I always have like on my mind to grab, and it just
I think
it
we
just
got some
kinda
extra
slips.
Send you home
boxes.
with some.
Yeah.
We got 14 grams of protein per serving, 0 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs.
That right,
Like-
exactly.
And it doesn't taste like crap. Like it tastes like good cereal.
Yeah.
Right. So, goddamn.
Yeah.
And if you have to, like, there are always options like that, you know what I mean? And if it's one of those things, like, that would be fine. If they're like, hey, I'm gonna have some, okay, cool. But if it's like, why aren't you buying me Cinnamon Toast Crunch?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
well,
Good taste, you can
because
see.
it's terrible for you.
Let's stop real quick. What was your favorite cereal as a kid?
Either Cocoa Puffs or Cocoa Krispies.
Cocoa
Okay.
Krispies?
Well, we
I
got
don't
the-
think I've ever
yeah.
had Cocoa Krispies.
Well, you got the cocoa right there that you can substitute it out for.
Yeah.
You turned out perfectly fine.
Yeah, totally.
Wait, and how about you? Your favorite cereal as a kid?
Man, I loved so many of them.
Okay.
Fuck, man.
A lot.
Yeah, like Cocoa Pebbles, Fruity
Yes.
Pebbles.
Cocoa Pebbles.
Cocoa
yeah.
Pebbles is the one.
Is that
Cocoa
that's-
Crisp is
I'm trying to think of my favorite.
Cocoa? What is Cocoa
I like
Crisp?
Lucky Charms, and I like
Lucky Charms gives you burps though.
the
But it turns
what's
your
the
poop green.
Count Chocula. I like that
Count
one.
Chocula.
There you go.
Yeah, with the little chocolate marshmallows in
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Wow.
That shit was dope.
Oops all
Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Oops
Yes,
all berries.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Oops all berries will turn your poop green.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one there.
My
Be
thing
careful.
was mixing Cinnamon Toast Crunch and Raisin Bran Crunch, and then taking Nature Valley granola bars, breaking them up, and then mixing them in the cereal.
That's an addiction.
But yeah, this stuff hits the spot
Yeah.
pretty damn good.
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean, and then there's always hacks like this that are out there, whether
Yeah.
it's a, you know, some sort of a bar or a cereal or even a drink. You know, the Fairlife things. We have a refrigerator just stacked full of those. And,
Would you
and
like a
muscle.
Fairlife?
Always.
yeah.
You
well,
guys might not know this, but Jesse Burdick invented Fairlife like 10 years ago.
Oh, come on, you broke my life.
Remember that? Remember that, Burdick? We were talking about a Fairlife-like product about 10 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, clearly our phones were bugged.
They stole your shit. That
But
stuff's so good.
But it's amazing how long have we
Convenient.
been doing the coffee protein shake?
Oh, yeah, forever.
But sweet. But and I mean then Nsima does it with, you know, pumpkin spice latte, and then all of a sudden he's a guru. It's like
His
damn.
$11 cup of coffee.
$11.
I don't do that anymore. I don't do that anymore. Hey, but real talk. One day on the podcast, we took out some of these and we used that as the milk for the cereal.
Well, remember we were talking about that, Andrew?
42 grams of
use this
protein.
as the milk.
This
Yeah,
guy's gonna get jacked. He got 42. What does he got? 26.
Oh my gosh.
And then that coffee one has 100 milligrams of caffeine in
and
it.
30.
That coffee one's my favorite.
Oh, this is an actual coffee
Yeah,
one?
it's
Coffee,
so
100
good.
milligrams of caffeine, bro.
Whoa.
Oh, I'm about to blow your mind.
Jeez.
Oh,
I'm
yes.
already
Yeah.
way too caffeinated
But-
all the time.
Before we go any further, though,
Yeah,
if you guys do want to take advantage and have actual cereal again that won't go against your macros, won't destroy your stomach, won't give you nothing, head over to magicspoon.com/powerproject. You guys will get a variety pack. So that's 4 different flavors. You'll receive $5 off. No code needed. As soon as you go to that link, you'll see the banner right across the top saying that you're going to save $5 off. Links to them down in the description, as well as the podcast show notes. Yeah, they're amazing. But that banana flavor right there, that core power,
Wait, so Jesse, let
doesn't
me,
make sense.
real quick question. Have you ever had the strawberry banana Fairlife?
No.
Okay, so do this. At some point,
He
Take-
invented something else.
I didn't invent it. They actually have a strawberry banana
Strawberry
Fairlife.
banana. Oh, so
But-
mix these two together?
Just have you ever had banana on itself?
No. Should
Okay.
I just like chug these right now
No,
on
no.
camera? Is this...
What I want you to
think
do
so.
is I definitely want you to just try.
Swish it around on the left side,
Yeah.
and then swish the strawberry around the right side, and then mix them together.
No, listen.
And blow a bubble with it.
This is going to be very difficult.
Because I want you to experience the banana on its own because it's really good. But then I want you to experience the strawberry mixed with vanilla. So only drink like maybe a third of the banana at some point, and then you can drink some of the strawberry and then mix them together because it's so good. I had it yesterday and I was wet. Let me just put it that way. I was wet
For the whole day?
The whole day
day.
I was sweeping at
So
the
that's
shorts,
what all that moisture was all over the floor.
That's
Yeah, that
gross.
makes a lot
just
of
slushing
sense.
around the office.
Yeah, I like it.
Wow. This is like real specific instructions.
I
you
know,
got.
this is
You had to experience it, man.
You gotta do the banana first.
banana first.
See how the
sure.
banana one feels in your left hand versus your right hand before you try this.
That's some like then put your hands in the ice bucket so
Oh,
like
yeah,
McCastle
yeah.
it so that way it changes up your grip strength.
It's true.
Do
The
all that
castle.
stuff. Yeah,
Oh
McCastle
my
that
God.
shit.
By the way, guys, since we're live, if you haven't listened to
No, go for it.
If you haven't listened to the Mike McCastle podcast we had yesterday, you must go listen to it because that man punched us with some gems. It was
He
great.
did.
It was amazing. How do you feel, Jesse? How was it?
Good. It
Right?
Yeah.
It tastes like banana. Tastes like, which one is this one?
But not nasty banana, because I was expecting that
This
to
is
be
not.
like.
Usually, I'm not a fan of like the banana flavored anything, especially like the artificially flavored banana stuff. But this is totally palatable.
And Mark, you said you had a cup of coffee. What's that all about?
No, I had a booze.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, okay. I thought that's what
You know
Yeah,
what though?
Yeah.
I still don't have complete smell and taste back, so I can't.
No!
I can't be like the best judge of all this stuff, to be 100% honest with everybody. But to me, completely palatable. Like
So he's just tasting cardboard. He's like,
Yeah.
that's good.
no, I can taste some of it, but I can't. I don't know if it's overpowering. I have no idea.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay. Well, it's,
But I
it's
mean,
all right.
I could totally drink all that, no problem.
Okay. Well, I just want to get you some more protein this morning because you need it.
I do.
You're not muscular at all.
Thank you very
I'm
much.
joking. I'm joking. It's because you're so large I made that joke. Oh, God.
Now we're mixing drinks.
Now pour them together.
Pour them together.
Oh,
Pour them
my-
together. Hopefully you'll be able to get some of the
Oh,
flavor in
man.
Just
it.
explodes.
What if it
I
would
thought
have
you were-
exploded?
I thought you weren't supposed to mix light and darks. Doesn't that give you a hangover?
Excuse me?
Whoa.
Whoa,
Bro,
whoa. This
wait,
isn't the
what?
60s anymore, Andrew. Get the fuck out of here, man.
It's not.
No.
Dude, I'm talking about alcohol.
Oh.
Oh.
Once I was that way.
Yeah.
For not wanting to get canceled, you want to cancel everybody.
You just set it up so well. Okay.
Mixing light and dark works pretty good. Like when you get a swirl,
Yeah.
those are fucking dope.
Yeah.
Soft serve swirl, vanilla and chocolate, get best of both worlds,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Soft serve kills me. I can never eat that.
You know what? You know what's a very sad fact is that not a lot of people have had real soft serve ice cream. They've only had fucking soft serve froyo.
Right.
Oh.
I
that's
took my
me.
daughter to get some soft serve ice cream the other day, and it blew her mind. She like couldn't believe it. She's like, "What is this?" I
Where
was
was
like,
it?
"It's ice cream." It's a place behind Bud's in Dixon, this restaurant in Dixon, and she was like, "This is so good." She's like, "This is unbelievable," because she's only had anytime she's ever had soft serve, it's always been frozen yogurt.
I thought
So-
frozen yogurt was soft serve. I didn't know there was a difference.
No, big difference.
That's yeah.
Frozen yogurt is soft serve ice cream, usually, but ice cream at soft serve places used to be like, or soft serve used to be regular ice cream years ago when
Got
people
it.
didn't get all weird about calories.
Calories.
Look at how well that's worked out for us.
Uh-huh.
Totally.
Jesse
Really,
has
really
a
well.
Jesse has a pretty good, I guess I'll call it recipe for McFlurries when you order a McFlurry.
So McFlurries are the best dessert of all time. I mean, anyone who wants to debate that can, we can talk. JesseBurdick@gmail.com. You're wrong, but
Just so you know.
over COVID, like we were just looking for stuff to do, so we would just drive around, and one of the times we're like, oh, you know what? Like, let's go get a McFlurry, and I'm pretty sure I melted the kid's mind. He was just like, I was like, 4 McFlurries. It's like, okay, would you like the chocolate? I don't even know what it was.
Like M&M's.
They only give you 2 options.
M&M and this, and like there was like a caramel something or other. I was like, can you just put all of them in? I want all of them.
No,
with
the
all of
machine's
them.
broken.
And he was just like,
That's what they always tell you. The machine's broken. No, we can't do
Did
that.
you read all this stuff about that? Like, there's a huge lawsuit. So apparently what's going on? We're going to divert here
We're
and
so
show how much of a nerd that I am. Is the
Fat nerd.
fat nerd? Yes, I have ice cream facts. McDonald's, the company that provides those machines, you can only get replacement parts from that company, and only those mechanics, and this is written into their contract with McDonald's, only those mechanics of the machine can come out and do these things. So they have a very limited amount of all of that stuff. So they were, and like it's went up to the Supreme Court. This is how fat, not the Supreme Court, I think it's the state Supreme Court. This is how fat the United States is like people are worried about these machines always being broken. And it's got to a point where they are like investigating the relationship between McDonald's and this company, because they kind of have like a symbiotic relationship of who's building what. It's their technology that they're kind of using and all this other stuff. And people are upset because they're not getting the right, and they're willing to like sue and do all this
Well,
stuff.
yeah.
It's remarkable.
It's going to be our most watched power bite of all time. Because I always thought that people were just lying about the machines. I just thought they didn't
They
want to make
cannot
ice cream.
get them. They cannot get them serviced and fixed, and that's why. And
I mean, that's the ultimate parenting move ever, is to just tell your kid shit's broken.
broken.
Hey, where's my
That's
blah,
what-
blah, blah? You're like, it's broken.
That's what Jake used to do when he would try and pick things up. He's like, it's broken.
Yeah,
when he
remember?
couldn't
Yeah, he
pick
tried-
it up.
Tried to pick up a kettlebell, and he like kicked it. He's like, it's broken. We're like, yeah, that's a good move.
Wait, pause. Wait, I thought you had a recipe for McFlurries though.
Oh yeah, so you just order all of them.
Oh,
You're like,
all of
you
in
want
one.
the Reese's Pieces, the M&Ms, and like the caramel something or other. And when I said that, the kid was like, I don't know if you can do that. He's like, hold on, I'll check with my manager.
You're
And I was like, what? So the manager's like, what do you want? I was like, can you just put all of the toppings into one McFlurry? And she's like, that's so smart. And I was like, thank you. And she's like, yeah, we will definitely do that for you, sir. And I was like, okay. And Katie is losing her shit on over here. And the girls are like, what's daddy doing? It was like, he broke McDonald's, girls. So I don't know if it's quite the,
It hasn't caught on
I don't know
yet.
if it's a secret menu type of thing or if
Yeah.
it's caught on, but you can do it. You're gonna blow people's minds.
Next
but
time
it's
you
out
go
there.
through, you say, I used to work here. And not only can you do that, but you can also throw French fries in there
Exactly.
too.
There you go.
See?
That would be so
Right?
smart.
Salty,
have you done that?
sweet.
No, I never have, but
Oh.
it sounds like a good idea.
You've never dipped the fry into ice
Oh,
cream?
I have done that
Okay,
before,
thank
yeah.
you. All right.
Mm-hmm.
I did that for the first time last year. I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
I just never knew. I mean, I've heard people do that, but
It's pretty good
it's
combo.
really good.
Mm-hmm.
You guys know your stuff.
What was that place we went to in Vegas? That burger place.
The heart attack grill.
Oh
went to some
no,
bur-
that was
like,
Burger Bar.
Burger bar.
Yeah, that was Hubert Keller's Burger Bar. He has a couple Michelin star restaurants.
And it was like a $65 burger.
It was
right?
like
but it was worth every penny.
It was Wagyu
Really?
beef topped with foie gras and black truffles. It was.
What's this place called? 'Cause
It's
I'm gonna be
called
in Vegas.
Burger Bar. I don't know if it's still in Vegas anymore, but I think it may still be in San Francisco because he has Fleur and his other restaurant. But Burger Bar, it's a. I tell everyone like, where should you go eat in Vegas? And there's so many places. Like, but go get the burger at Burger Bar. It's ridiculous.
We ordered a shake from there, and part of the cool thing about ordering a shake from there is the amount of different stuff you can add to. I think you can get like scoops of different ice cream, and you can add just like this crazy amount of toppings. And I'm like picking toppings that I think like match. Like that's what you do. And Jesse kind of does the same thing. And then Jesse's wife, Katie, she is like, I'll just take all these. And I was like, those don't even go together. I'm like, that's going to be disgusting. Because sometimes it's like, they don't blend together well. They don't like match up well. Like they cancel each other out at a certain point.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, she gets her drink, and it was way better than mine and Burdick.
Yeah.
She knew what she was doing. No one clears a plate quite like Katie Hogan. I always make fun of her, but dude, when you eat with this girl and you look at her plate, fucking everything's gone. It's spotless. You're like, what the hell? Did you lick the plate? What's going on over there?
She does. She does. Even at
does
home. Even at home, same thing.
How's her training going and stuff?
Mine?
Her training.
Her training. She's
I don't
doing
care
good.
about your training.
It's good. It's challenging just trying to fit it in when and where we can with B. But she, she'll get into the garage or try and do something, like 3 to 5 times a week, just trying to do stuff. So just coming back from pregnancy, was difficult. But she's still out there, still doing her stuff. She looks great. She's recovered pretty much, from everything. So if she had more time, she would obviously, do a little bit more. So.
And then what about for you? You've had hip surgery and stuff like that.
Yeah. I had the total hip done. It's been kind of
hip replacement, right?
Yeah, total replacement on my right hip. It's been kind of fits and starts just with timing and everything with the with COVID and the kids and just trying to get the losing 60% of your business and all these other things. So it's been up and down, but I'm back in, moving around, doing some stuff, trying to work out like 5 times a week or so. I bought a sauna, which has been really, really huge for just like recovery and everything.
What company? Was it like, is there a specific company you think's really good?
I think there's a couple, but I'm cheap. So I went on Craigslist.
Okay.
And I found what is the company? I don't remember which company it was, but it's a far infrared sauna. And it was spec'd for outdoor. It came like these people took great care of it. It was like this old couple that had it and never used it. It was they put like a paint or a lacquer on it, so it was waterproof, and they had a tarp for it and all this other stuff. And I was able to put a red light in there, so I have some red light therapy and stuff in there. But they were like, it was a 2-person sauna. It retailed for like $6,000. They were selling it for $2,500. I was just like, I'll give you $2,000 cash and I'll pick it up, in 20 minutes. And they were like, yeah, okay, cool. So, so I went and grabbed it, and it's hilarious that they're like not made of anything. It's like latches and stuff to like kind of put the thing together. But it's really been amazing, just trying to take advantage of some of the heat shock protein after working out, and just kind of it's been really cool just to have that at like the end of the day where it's quiet, it's dark. I'll either listen to a book or just kind of sit there and try and, meditate, stretch. I have like, cups and scrapes and everything in the sauna just to kind of sit there and just try and, take 20 minutes out of the day. And, Katie started to do that as well. What really spurred me on for that was seeing yours and being super jealous. And then also just, the study, I think it's the Swedish study that's like, 3 to 5 times of 20 minutes plus, all-cause mortality rate down by like 60% or something. So it's just like, holy shit. And then you pair that with the walking. Like, man, I'm gonna live for ever.
It does some silly. It does some like just silly stuff. Like, I mean, number one, it makes you sweat, which it's like that's beneficial for everybody.
Yes.
Number two, it just helps you to burn calories.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. The third thing that it does, which I like, is you're a little uncomfortable in there.
Right.
You have to kind of figure out a way to calm yourself down. And I know there's like a lot of science and research on like all these other benefits, but for me personally, just some of those benefits right there alone are like enough. Normally when I come home from the gym, normally I already got 10 miles or 12 miles of like walking / running, and I got lifting in. I did all my podcasting. I did all the bullshit that I'm supposed to do for the day. And now it's kind of time to just kind of kick it with the family. And so usually right when I get home, I usually put my sauna on. I'll cook something for myself.
Right.
I'll sit down. I'll eat for a minute. Then I'll get in the sauna. Then I'll take a shower. And then the rest of the day is just with my family, with my wife and kids, eating dinner, just chilling. But like that gets me so relaxed.
Yeah.
To go into the sauna and then take a shower. Just feels absolutely ridiculous. You feel so calm, and your skin just feels super clean. It's like you put yourself through like a car wash or something. It feels amazing.
It is. And it's there's so many health benefits, but I think it's almost like, just like anything else, like you're forcing yourself to take 20 minutes out of your day and specifically not do anything. What are you doing in the sauna? You're sitting down and being quiet and kind of getting in touch with what's going on and, you know, trying to plan for something, whatever. There's very little stress. It can be, you know, it will get difficult once you get, you know, that last like 10 minutes when it's 150 degrees. You're like, fuck. But it's, you know, again, it's something challenging and it's, you know, something just for you, you know, I mean, you in a sauna is not going to, you know, necessarily one for one benefit everybody else, but, you know, it'll make you a better mark for, you know, for the wife and the kids. So I think it's, you know, whether it's, you know, meditation or sauna or whatever it is, you know, it's so important to have something like that because there's just so many stressors out there, and just to be able to kind of decompress a little bit, it's so important.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
So how heavy were you at your heaviest for powerlifting?
335.
Oh, y'all were twins. 330, 335. That's sick. All right. So for you currently, because it's really cool seeing how both your bodies changed over time, what do you think are some of the biggest, like, I guess, kind of habits that you do right now? You mentioned walking. So like, what would you say are some just big things that people just should start doing lifestyle-wise?
In general, or for powerlifters, or for
in general, that just made a big difference for you personally. Yeah.
Yeah, just being aware of kind of what you're eating, trying not to eat out a lot. You know, I think it's becoming harder and harder because restaurants are, you know, becoming few and further in between. Learning how to cook was huge. Understanding that you really shouldn't go unless you're doing some sort of fasting technique, you know, like 3 hours without having a little bit of something. Your meals don't have to be gigantic. You don't necessarily need to eat until you fall asleep, which is something that, you know, we had to do in order to get that big. You know, learning how to cook, learning how to shop, the walking has been, you know, like super simple stuff like that, and kind of starting the day off with I'm a big fan of anybody that I work with, and someone that I just started working with has had huge success with this. I was like, look, just get up, start your first meal off, just, you know, bacon and eggs. Don't have any carbohydrate. You know, try and wait as long as you can, almost like a
we've been pushing that
carbonate.
for I don't know how long.
Yeah, and I mean, it just kind of sets you up for. He's like, this is crazy that when I have just bacon and eggs, I don't crave, you know, sugar and all the other shit as I go kind of throughout the day. And that's been able to cut this guy's carbohydrates from like 2,000 to like 500, right? And I mean, it's just made a huge difference. His inflammation, his knees don't hurt, his elbows, and, you know, the standard litany of kind of things. But something like that is very small, and I mean, it can be huge. And I mean, just the walks, you know, it's everybody. I mean, most people. I had a client yesterday tell me, he's like, man, I really got to get on those 10-minute walks because I got an Apple Watch. And I've never heard, he was just like, you know, I averaged 1,000 steps a day last week. I was like, what? I was like, how do you only move 1,000?
Yeah.
He was just like, yeah. It's like, that's horrible. That's horrible. I was like, that is not, I can't even sugarcoat this for you. That's fucking terrible.
Even when you were a powerlifter at your heaviest, were you still walking a lot?
Yeah, I mean, I had the kids and we were moving around, and I was a trainer,
coach,
so I was moving a lot. But I couldn't believe, and I mean, this is a skinny guy too, and I'm like, yeah, this is amazing.
Think about what happens to people, you know, in the hospital when they're laid up for a while. You know, you start to atrophy, and that's going to happen to many of us if we're not moving.
Right.
You need some sort of movement every day, and I really strongly encourage anyone, just if you have an opportunity to look at some sort of tracker. I don't know if everyone knows, but like your Apple phone, there's a little thing that has a heart on it, and you can see your steps right there. So I would encourage anybody to work on trying to increase that by about 5,000 steps a day.
Yeah.
Like, what's the norm for you? Just kind of look at that and just say, hey, it doesn't have to be tomorrow that you do it, but just over time, I want to increase that by 5,000 steps. Now, if you have anything that hinders you from doing that, then you got to be more cautious, and you might want to think, all right, well, maybe I got to do a recumbent bike, or maybe I have to swim, or have to do something different, because there's people with like feet problems and knee problems and all kinds of other things. So you don't want to make those things worse. That's the worst thing you can do. But you've been talking about walking for forever. I mean, you're the one that kind of kicked me off with walking, and that was probably, I want to say probably almost like 12 years ago.
Yeah.
And you were like, you told me like to start walking. And I'm like, that's like old people exercise. Like, what are you talking about? You're like, it's the perfect fat guy thing ever because it just burns a little bit of calories. You're like, just walk around your block. And I remember literally just walking around my block. And then once I did that a couple times, you were like, well, put on like, but I think I lost a little bit of weight.
Yeah.
I maybe lost like 20 pounds. And you're like, put on a vest or put on a backpack that weighs 5-10 pounds.
Yeah.
And I was like, 5 or 10 pounds ain't gonna do shit. But you're like, again, it's gonna burn more calories. We gotta go over this again, Smelly. So you encouraged me to do that. I started doing that. And then after a while, I started walking around with like 11-pound weight vest. But it looked like a bulletproof jacket. So I kind of stopped doing that after a while, but it was effective. It worked great.
Yeah. We can complicate things as much as you want to. And, there's a lot of people out there who, like me, who have the ability to make things as complicated as you want. But in all reality, it's really simple. If everybody's got 10 minutes to go out there and, just take a walk, and that's all that it really takes. And then it's just going to have a compounding factor. If you're outside, get a little bit of sun, breathe some fresh air, or what, depending on, how bad fires are and where you are in the world. It just has a compounding effect on just your mood, psychologically, mentally, and it just kind of keeps further moving things along. And when I was talking to you about that was just based off of like just general GPP aerobic cardio. It was just like basically plugged in I did all this, again, complicating things for you. And it was just like, I took your resting heart rate and, did the Carbonian formula. And it was like, okay, we need to keep you somewhere between 120 and 140. And, for this and anything else, we need, 20 minutes of, under, we don't want to get you to anywhere over 120. And it started to take you, that's when you become more fit, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, then you have to add either work harder by going faster or adding weight or walking up a hill or something along those lines. So it can be very, very easy. And, to kind of your question, your point, for someone looking to make a change, it's one meal and 1 10-minute walk a day. And then it's just going to keep compounding because you're going to feel better.
Yeah.
And then you're going to want more. And then, the buffet of fitness is kind of opened up to you. So, it's fun to complicate things, and it's neat to, know a lot of stuff. But it's really kind of comical, that, I get to use like 1% of the stuff that I know, but it's 100% effective, which is great, which is all that really matters, when we come down to it.
And don't complicate taking walks too. Like if you have to take a phone, if you have to take a fucking phone call, just go outside, walk with whatever headphones on, and take that phone call. Because a lot of people are like, oh, but I work 9 to 5, and okay, then stand at your desk, and if you can, just like randomly go and walk around the office or something.
Yeah.
Just get more steps in.
Tiny Tiff, when she was doing September. Sorry,
Walktober.
She would just whatever it was. She would just walk in a circle when she was watching like football games, and she would just sit there and just walk in circles because she was trying to get her steps in and stuff. So it's just like it can be that easy. You don't have to even go outside if you don't want to. If you're scared to go outside, just walk in your house.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be anything difficult. And for me, sometimes even just planning a day or setting something up, I'll just go into my notes on my phone and I'll hit record, and I'll record just me talking about like the week. Like, oh, this week I have, Ben Patrick's or this month I got Ben Patrick coming in at the end of the month. Don't forget to call Jesse, talk to him. Let's work on setting things up. And I'll just leave myself some notes. Then I look down at my time or my steps, and I already walked 10, 15 minutes, make a couple phone calls.
Yeah.
Just whatever you got to do to make the time go by. Listen to podcasts, listen to books. It's a place to educate yourself too.
Yeah.
And there's nothing better than also like being in nature and being in some elements that are just different than our day to day of like the hustle of being inside buildings and having artificial light on us all day long. You're outside, you got the sun, there's trees, there's other things around. Maybe you can find some interesting places to walk where there's like some decent scenery.
Yeah.
That will make it a little easier. And for me, I try to walk in a lot of different spots. Sometimes I'm in the woods, not like woods, but like on a trail because I don't want to get lost. But then I'll be like, downtown Davis or something, or just a downtown area where there's people. Because when there's people, it gives me more energy. So on a day where I feel a little bit more tired, don't feel like doing something, I'm like, if I see other people moving, that's going to encourage me to want to move. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I'm walking and literally like old people will pass by me and I'm like, oh, fuck. I'm like, that lady was probably like in her 70s. That's not good. I need to speed up.
Like, hey, Gertrude, slow down.
Yeah.
Gertrude.
Gertie. That's a name you're not going to hear much more.
I'm just really wondering if somebody
ever.
did name their child Gertrude, what is going through their head? Like, you're Gertrude. Like,
It's got to be, that's got to be like a family name. I want to name you after grandma or great grandma.
Or what does everybody name anything that's like way like very big in size? It's like, oh, that's Big Bertha. Or like that. So like if anybody is like Bertha, like that's the name. Like, ooh, I don't know. That's a bad one.
You know what? But there's a God, I don't. I think her name is Callie. Or no, it's Maddie Nichols. She's a softball player for UCLA. But there's so many girls named Maddie that, and I only know she's a softball player, and we call Sophia Bubba. But his dad started to call her Bubba to differentiate her from all the other Maddies, and she took the name.
nice.
And I mean, and she is this gorgeous, like unbelievably talented, athletic girl. And you're like, what's your name? She's like, my name is Bubba Nichols. And you're like,
that's sick.
like, where the fuck are you from? It's like Bubba Nichols.
Bubba Nichols.
And she's a stud. She's a stud. She's awesome. And I mean, so yeah, there will be someone special who like says like, what's your name? My name is Big Bertha. We're like, damn girl, yeah, look at you.
Own that.
There's a few people out there who will be able to pull that off. And Gertrude, you'd be like, damn, you are Gertrude. Check you out.
Oh wow. I dig it.
We were talking a little bit about diet, and you were mentioning not eating much carbohydrate first thing in the morning. You and I were playing around with very low carbohydrate diets many years ago, and we sort of like were like too stupid to like formulate anything into meaning anything to become popular in the general public. But I think of like Mark Sisson talking about like metabolic flexibility and kind of like eating 2 meals a day. And I'm just kind of looking at that stuff and I'm like, man, that sounds like really not that any of the information was ever taken from us, but we stumbled upon a lot of ideas that were very similar years and years ago. Just by eating like large amounts of fat, decent amounts of protein, we kind of ended up with 2 meals a day. We ended up stumbling upon metabolic flexibility because as you got me to get in better shape, you're like, oh, you can add some carbs in now. And I was like, but I thought we were doing like more like keto stuff. And you were like, well, if it's around your workout, it's not going to be a big deal. Before or after the training session, you're going to be able to suck up some of those carbohydrates. It's not going to be a big deal. And I would even check for ketones here and there. And I would be eating like 100 grams of carbs and I would still be in quote unquote ketosis, you know, but more importantly than worrying about the ketones or ketosis, I was still able to make progress and still able to lose weight. So it was just interesting that we were stumbling upon a lot of those things many, many years ago.
I think it speaks to just being curious and, being like, I mean, that's science. It's, fuck around and find out. Right. And I mean, we had thought processes of like, well, hey, this works, but we're getting to a point where at that point you're almost losing muscle, you're losing strength, and this is when you're still trying to lift, and you're starting to kind of get banged up. It's like, okay, cool, we got to hydrate those muscles a little bit better. There's a way to do this. What would be the best way? It's always, pre-para and post. I think, para didn't even exist as a word or a term back then. And, it's just like, well, let's see how this happens. Let's see how this goes. And, I remember you being really trepidatious and scared about it. And it was just like, I just don't want to go that way. Like, well, as long as you keep it around your workout, you'd be all right. And, it's successful. And I mean, it's just finding out. And that's the true thing about all the diets. We can talk about, we can throw the book at anybody that we want. It's about what's going to be sustainable and usable for you, and, what's going to work for you. Not necessarily, most of it's going to work for everybody, but some of it's really not going to work for some people too. So they have to find out what's the best for them. And I mean, they can be as nerdy as they want, or they can just be like, hey, yeah, I ate some pasta, I feel like shit. It's like, well, probably shouldn't eat pasta anymore then, because your body just doesn't like it. Like, oh, I feel great off of sweet potato and rice. I'm like, well, there you go. So just use that. So I think people discount, how they feel, or they just turn off or don't pay attention to how they feel. I think everyone thinks explosive diarrhea is normal for everybody else. It's like, oh, well, everyone's got, terrible diarrhea all the time. I'm like, well, they shouldn't, but, most people probably do.
And I think there's an aspect of like, you can adapt to anything. Because I remember in the past when I like played a lot of soccer, and even when I was focused on bodybuilding, like I'd be eating 4 or 5 meals a day. I'd be eating a lot of carbohydrates. I'd be eating sweet potato, rice, etc. I'd feel fine. Wouldn't feel tired or anything. But when I transitioned to eating more fats, initially it didn't feel good. Then it felt great. Now when I try to eat the way I used to eat, I'm like, I'm kind of tired. Like it's like I just have to adapt to that again. You know what I mean? So you can adapt to any type of diet that you do if you do it long enough.
Right.
Absolutely. But I guess just figuring out which one's better for you.
And I think that's my favorite story of adapting to, it was the Dave Tait story when he started working with John Berardi. Do you remember this? He was just like, it's like, John had him eating the precision nutrition stuff.
Oh yeah, he got like sick when he ate healthy.
He was being sick for horribly sick. And then Wendler, I mean, this is when they were big. He was just like, fuck it, just eat a box of Pop-Tarts. Ate a box of Pop-Tarts and felt just amazing. And he was like, and he called John. He was just like, I don't know what's going on. Your diet's making me sick. Pop-Tarts make me feel awesome. So he ended up getting a bunch of tests done, and they found out like, wow, your intestines are just like riddled with plaque and with all this. So he ended up having to do like an enema and these cleanses in order to kind of just like he couldn't like break down. Like, I think it was the fiber was pulling this like plaque and all this just like gunk with it, and therefore kind of
he was detoxifying.
He was basically detoxifying all this stuff that's just been sitting in his system forever, and that was just causing him just to be horribly sick, and eventually ended up having to healthily detox and get all this stuff out of him before he could even eat healthy. And this is when he was eating McDonald's 2 to 3 times a day, and anytime he hit a PR, he would eat a pint of ice cream afterwards.
We were joking around earlier about like cereal, but like cereal is like one of the most like stable foods. Like it doesn't really bother. I mean, sometimes the lactose maybe from the milk might bother some people, but in general, it's like cereal is usually pretty easy on people's stomachs. And then even foods that you wouldn't really think would be like easy to like quote unquote digest, chips, like grilled cheese sandwiches, like shit like that, like for some reason, because it's like processed, it doesn't have like a lot of fiber to it. So it's not like eating like, if you eat like a bunch of cashews or macadamia nuts or you eat a lot of fruit and vegetables, like those things can be really tough for people to break down, especially if you're not used to them. When your digestive system's not used to breaking down broccoli, you're going to run into some trouble probably.
You should feel suspect, because when you told me like your daughters would eat some corn dogs and they'd come back and be like, oh my God, right? You should be suspect. If you eat hella corn dogs, you're like, I feel great. That might not be a good thing.
Yeah, it's yeah, exactly. It's your body is not necessarily supposed to feel awesome off of that. And if you are, that means you've just adapted to, your environment, what you're doing, and is this where you want to go, what you want to be? I mean, in all reality, the answer is no, but for some people, corn dogs is life.
You, I think, do a great job of identifying like what will work for somebody kind of ahead of time. Once you talk to somebody for a little while, I've noticed that you have a keen eye to kind of notice like, oh, I don't think like that traditional way is going to work for that person. For example, maybe somebody's coming from a diet where they were counting calories and they say, counting calories didn't work for me. And it's not necessarily that counting calories doesn't work. It's the fact that it was hard for them to adhere to. Maybe they had too many options in their diet.
Right.
And now instead of having a narrative of like what someone can't do, you'll give suggestion and you'll say, hey, tomorrow when you wake up, have your cup of coffee like you normally do, scramble up some eggs, throw some cheese on there, throw some bacon in there, have a big old omelet and start your day off that way. And you'll make recommendations that seem to fit better. Because we know, like, I hear people oftentimes that say like cookie cutter programs don't work. But I also heard you mention earlier, which I think is very smart and intuitive, is that all the diets will work. And we know that if we are to put people, if we're to trap people in like a military type environment, and we're to say, you are going to perform like these Navy SEALs, and you're going to be fed like these Navy SEALs, anyone that can make it through that, everyone's probably going to lose some weight, especially if they don't have previous training, especially if they don't have any history of like eating this way. You get like, you go to the chow hall and you get like 2 scoops of mush or whatever the hell it is they're trying to feed you for the day. The fat guys get less food. The skinnier guys get more food. And it does actually work for everybody. The problem is you need to find stuff that like fits you well, that suits you, that fits your day to day. You don't want to be doing shit that you don't like doing. And if you're trying to utilize like a low carb diet, but you hate eating fat, you just ran into a huge barrier. You're not going to be able to really follow that. You're going to feel disgusting all the time.
Right. But I also think people, fat is always a demonized word. Like I've had a number of conversations where like, oh yeah, no, just me and fat, we just don't work. I was just like, oh, okay, cool. Like, well, what do you think what would you like to eat besides like a carbohydrate? What could help kind of, I was like, well, I really like cheese and sour cream. And I'm like, like, okay. And they'll go on. And I'm just like, I'm not going to tell you that you are actually eating a lot of fat, but let's just remove some of the carbohydrates. Because in a normal person, that's the biggest deal is they're eating way too much fat. Their calories are just way too high. So we just by removing a little bit of carbohydrates and kind of fluctuating those fats, it can kind of make a big difference. But just like Stan always says, it's eat foods that like you, and the diet's the one that you can kind of work with. And it's just about listening to someone, and someone starts talking. And I had, again, someone that I was working with who was like, Subway is across the street from where I work. I eat Subway for lunch. It's like, all right, cool. Well, hey, let's just make a better decision. It's like, you can go in, right? Yeah. How about a salad? I fucking hate salads. It's like, okay, how about we get the wrap thingy and double meat? I'm like, oh yeah, I can do that. And that all of a sudden, brings down just overall carbohydrates, ups protein intake. 2 weeks later, he's down 10 pounds, and he thinks I'm a fucking wizard. And it's just like, look, you can always say no bread. It's the Flying Dutchman. They're everywhere now. You can get them anywhere and everywhere. You don't have to get rice at Chipotle. You can just get the vegetables. There's always ways to do it. And I think people forget that they are the customer and they're right, and they can choose what they end up wanting to kind of get on or with things. And when you're like, dude, you could just say like no rice. I'm like, shit, or like light rice or only half a scoop rice. Like they'll listen to you. They'll do what you want. Just kind of empowering people to even just start to kind of have those thoughts. And the Subway guy comes back and he's just like, hey man, I eat at Starbucks a lot in the morning. What should I eat there? It's like, how about those egg white sous vide bites? He's like, yeah, that's what I was thinking. I just wanted to, yeah, no, that's cool. That's cool. What about, the wrap instead of the sandwich? It's like, there you go, man. Awesome. That's cool. It's like, eventually we're going to like get you not eating at other places. But hey, you're making better decisions where you are, and that's the important thing. And you're accidentally tripping and falling into some more vegetables and protein leveraging. Great, here we go.
And then amazing things that it ends up falling into people's habits, just because like even myself back in the day, I would crave carbohydrates hardcore. But once I started making that transition, eating more fats, eating more protein, well, now I don't eat nearly as much as I used to because I don't crave that amount of food that I used to. Right. It's like it's just lowering those carbohydrates makes it much easier to stick to the diet.
Yeah.
Jesse, what does like a lot of scar tissue do to somebody? Like if you have a lot of scar tissue, say like in your hip, like what's the reason why you would like to get rid of something like that?
Well, it's just basically scar tissue is actually stronger than tissue, tendon, ligament. And if you have a decent amount of scar tissue, however it kind of gets there, whether it's an adhesion or some sort of a tear or something that isn't heal and it doesn't heal, it'll kind of just sticks everything together. Kelly always talks about your hips are a grilled cheese sandwich, and then they're just kind of smashed together and then smashed together again. And it makes the sliding surface of your muscles kind of impossible. Your muscles are basically just steaks layered on top of each other that you're trying to move in different ways from different spots. And anything that impedes that proper movement and full range of movements is going to make your body therefore kind of move differently. So if your hip isn't working, it's going to shift one way or the other, and you're going to shift all your weight to this way, which is therefore going to kind of turn your hips, rotate your ribs, bend over your spine, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it can just negatively influence movement in a negative way. So really it's kind of hard to, have scar tissue or, some sort of an adhesion. It's just mostly just like tight musculature more than anything. And, someone who is just doesn't experience a fully flexed or stretched muscle.
Makes like just basic moves
Impossible.
Harder.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
And these things are usually formed from like a trauma or stress.
So it's either trauma or stress or just repetitive movement. It's If you're sitting down all day, you're going to mimic the fact this way, because you've been sitting like this, and you try and stand up, you're going to be like this, unless you stretch out your quads, stretch up your hip flexors, turn on your ass, stand yourself up a little bit. You know, those are just, you're going to, you know, your body is an amazing adaptive machine. We've already talked about this, right? And it's going to do whatever it is that you do the most often, because that's homeostasis for it. And it's going to try to get back to homeostasis all the time. So if you're sitting down, you're going to look like you're sitting down a lot, even when you're standing up, unless you really work on kind of standing up, either standing up more often or making sure when you do, after you do sit down, you do stand up and move around. Like when I drove here this morning, the first thing I did, I was like, I got to get out, and took the 10-minute walk real quick.
Got to undo the sitting.
I was like, oh my God. I was like, I feel so much better. Yeah. And I think it's been like 10 years since, do you remember when we were at San Francisco and Kelly was just like, oh yeah, sitting's the new smoking. We were like, oh dude, I don't think that's a good term. I heard someone like casually say that the other day. Yeah. I was just amazed. It's taken 10 years for it to become like, you know, general thought processes, and or he's big enough to where it's gonna, you know, become lexicon for everyone. But it was just like, I remember initially you're like, you can't fucking say that, dude. That's not okay. Like lung cancer and, you know, some fat ass sitting on a computer. It's not necessarily the same thing. Yeah. But yeah, you just got to get up and, you know, try to move around and try and express a good, you know, a good posture one way or the other.
I think what happens to a lot of people is they have like almost like dietary scar tissue, and not necessarily the tissues are getting compromised because of your food. That's obviously like debatable. That's not what I'm talking about. But I know that once you start asking people a couple of questions about their food, you say, well, why do you eat that way? And they say, well, it's convenience. On my way home from work, you know, that's why I stopped at McDonald's. But you've pointed out, which I think is really brilliant, is that a lot of times there's a trauma or there's a scar from someone's life somewhere along the lines. They ended up with divorce. They ended up with some sort of tragedy in their life, or some sort of thing that got interpreted in a bad way. It got them into a funk. And now all of a sudden, because they hurt their ankle a couple years ago playing college basketball or playing a pickup game of basketball, they gained 60 pounds.
Right.
And then you and I are kind of like, well, you didn't gain 60 pounds because of the ankle. Like, what's actually really going on? What have you found when you start to pull back those layers? What's actually going on underneath for a lot of people?
It can vary, like so much stuff. And I mean, it's just, you know, it basically comes down to just mental health in general. You know, how do you handle stress? How do you handle setbacks? You know, have you been equipped via, you know, nature or nurture, how to deal with these things? You know, did your parents teach you how to eat, how to recover, how to do these things? And, you know, when you really start talking about it, you know, it's like, Katie and I have a client who takes his kids to Starbucks like all the time. And he's a big CEO guy. I was like, look, man, it's like, you're teaching your kids, like, this is daddy time. Like, this is our time together, and it's sugary and it's sweet and it's a treat and it's special. And that's cool. But do you really want to tie that all in? Because what happens when they go to college and they're missing you? Or what if something really bad happens and you're not around anymore for them and they're going to miss you and all this other stuff? They lean on that for comfort. And then it just goes down this hill, you know, if they're not taking care of their own mental health, you know, via their own or talking to someone or something along those lines. And it can get really, really, really bad. I've dealt with people who have had to stop working with and say, hey, I think you need to go and talk to someone and deal with some of your food stuff. Because there's clearly some underlying issues here. You know, this is what mama used to make and this made me feel good and this is all she did, or this is how it was, you know, I won't go too much into it. It's like, you know, this is how she would apologize after you kicked my ass. I'm like, fuck.
Right.
Okay, so yeah, macaroni and cheese and hot dogs.
And now you feel like an asshole for trying to explain macronutrients to him. You're
exactly.
Like, oh, fuck. I am so sorry that I was just trying to tell you to count calories. I'm a fucking asshole.
And that's why when I do start to work with someone, I was like, hey, what are your non-starters? You know, like, what is it like, even if someone is like in deathly need of losing 120 pounds, like, what are your non-starters? It's like, my coffee. Don't fuck with my coffee. You can have everything else. Cool. Okay. Then we have a lot to work with, you know, or I need macaroni and cheese and hot dogs at least twice a week because that makes me feel good. And makes me whatever.
I gotta have a drink on the weekend or something.
Cool.
Right?
Okay, cool. There's so much else to kind of work with, right? And I try not to. I've touched the stove enough to figure out that when I find those non-starters, and you just kind of ask them, like, I don't even want to fucking deal with this shit because I can make so much progress over here. Eventually, we should probably deal with the whole macaroni and cheese and hot dogs or coffee thing or whatever it is that we're kind of dealing with. But we can make a lot of progress to get there, and maybe you'll trip and fall into helping yourself there. But I mean, there's a lot of psychological, mental stuff that kind of goes on, and you think back to sitting on the couch, and that's like, you always talk about it that it's time. That's what's most important with your kids. That's what's worth all the stuff. That's what parenting is all about. And I think a lot of people, sitting there and watching whatever and eating whatever is time with mom or dad or whatever it was. And when they either don't have that, or maybe that's not good, or they lean on it, mentally, that's kind of where people kind of lean back towards. And, we can argue if it doesn't necessarily have to be unhealthy, but oftentimes, it ends up being, you're going to have to deal with it one way or the other. There's a lot of holdups mentally with food.
This is really important because, like, I had to talk with a friend the other, like, it was actually a while ago, but he was talking about trying to change some of his eating habits. And he's like, he mentioned that he keeps certain cereal and like some things in the house. He's like, but I keep it in there because, my kid likes to eat it. I'm like, hey, but think about that, man. I mean, okay, you don't want to be eating this stuff because you're trying to get in shape. Yeah, that's your kid, though. Why would you want your kid eating that? Because you're like, that's not that you don't want your kid.
Yeah, where did that cereal get you? Because it's gonna get him there too. It's gonna be the same thing.
Exactly.
And I mean, just it's a really
that's sad too. You see like a whole family where everyone's heavy.
Yeah,
and a lot of times it's well-meaning people that love their kids.
Yes.
They're, we could sit here and judge parenting, and we could be judged easily and fried and persecuted for not doing things the correct way all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But you see that and you're like, man, this is a smart, well-meaning family. Like no one's trying to hurt their children in these cases,
right.
But it really is hurtful. You're really starting them off just in a bad spot. They could be pre-diabetic. They could have health problems. They could have social problems just because they're a little heavier than everybody else. And it's a shitty situation.
And I mean, I wish there was an easy way, because I think we would all be kind of pointing at it. But the girls are in high school now and they're taking health, and they're in their diet unit. And I mean, I want to throw things when they come home and tell me they go off this site called foodgrades.com or something along those lines. And Katie started to look at it, and it's just a random guy who's going off of research that he's done. He has no degrees, no certifications, no anythings. Anything whole wheat is a A or more. Steak is a C- and a D. Anything protein is like a B and below. Sugar, anything is a B and above. So it's things like that where, I mean, the girls come home and they're like, what do I do here? I have a test on this stuff. And it's like, hey, look, get the questions right so you can get an A so we can move on. But this is not a real thing for everybody else. And look, I think the guy's trying. We have so many problems going on right now.
No one's trying, like I said, no one's trying to hurt anybody.
This is a substitute teacher who is a math teacher who is now being asked to teach health to high school kids. So, I mean, now you're going to get to the birds and the bees and a little bit of physiology and shit. And I mean, it's not a super comfortable place to be. Yeah. Now you're talking diet. Again, not necessarily super and he's trying his best. But it's just like, man, it is so fucking broken. Yeah, no one, the girls loved home ec in middle school. And they like to cook. They see me cooking. They see Katie cooking. But I mean, there are people who still to this day, and we know people, like, they don't know how to cook anything. Nothing. They don't even know how to grill, which is like put a piece of meat on some fire and turn it after 5 minutes and you have a steak. It's pretty easy.
Or air fry that shit.
That shit.
Air fry's so easy.
So I mean, from top to bottom, it is very, very broken. And I wish there was an easy way, and I want to say education, parenting, whatever, but I mean, that's super complicated to start with. But I mean, it's so rampant and everywhere.
Spend so much time eating, you would figure that it would be one of the most important things to try to teach in your home is to, and I've been fortunate enough to just know about it since the time I was young. And I just think other people, unfortunately, they don't really know what to do. Maybe they're really not thinking, I know
no blame towards anyone. I mean, they just may not know. And why are you doing this? Because this is what I've always done.
Right.
I'm like, okay, well, maybe it's time to change because of that. But I mean, you know, a lot of people may not be willing to have that conversation.
And
They don't wanna
imagine
have that conversation.
maybe instead of the trip to Starbucks or McDonald's, which might be fun, imagine if like, hey, your job is to scramble the eggs.
Yeah.
I'm going to grab the cheese from the fridge. We got the pan going. Hey, so-and-so, chuck some butter in the pan, you
Right.
know, and then they watch how you make it and they get to be part of it. And I know it might sound a little dorky or whatever, but that's an actual really awesome usage of your time. And
That's
again,
quality time.
like we're parents, we
Yeah.
understand. Yes, of course you're going to rush through McDonald's every once in a while. Of course you're going to go through Starbucks here and there. But when you have the opportunity to teach, when there's an opportunity for education, which I think you've run into these situations where your kid uses an inappropriate word or something crazy happens in the household, and it's like, okay, Katie, we can like pull all the dishes out and slam them on the ground, or we can take this opportunity as a really awesome time for some education. We can
Right.
sit around, we can start to talk about these things. The kids can be involved in the decisions rather than like us just saying, go to your room. This is the way it is around here. And you guys are pissing us off or whatever. So a lot of these opportunities or a lot of these situations that pop up, they're actually just really good opportunities to teach people,
Absolutely.
to educate your children and to teach them some of the proper ways to eat.
Mm-hmm. So the website, I think this is the right one. It's called Fooducate or Fooducate.
Oh, maybe that.
Fooducate?
Yeah.
Food-
Yeah,
Fooducate, sorry.
food grades
I-
look like it was from the 1970s.
Yeah, I can't.
Well, it might
I
be.
can't-
Or
I don't know
90s.
how to read,
It was
but it says potato tortilla chips. Like this is the first page. It was a B-.
Right.
So I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look, like Katie did a deep dive. I don't know if there's like a bio on this guy. She's like, who is this person? And you know, kind of went down it. And again, I'm not. The person is trying hard, right? And he's admittedly saying, I don't know everything. This is just what I read.
Mhm.
But to someone who knows anything about nutrition, it makes you pull whatever hair out that you have left.
Yeah, somebody was asking whether or not certain athletes actually might need a little bit more fat than normal to perform better. I don't know if there's any correlation, if it's just getting bigger, like can they get bigger off of just eating more fat?
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely get bigger off of, I mean, it's just more, eventually it all comes down to kind of calories, right? I mean, in calorie, you're going to eat so many more calories eating so much more fat. I think there was a big push in the endurance community for a long time because that the fat will satiate you for a much longer time.
Yeah.
So people were like hitting those like the
gel
goos or
packs.
gel packs or whatever, which is basically just, you know, some sort of a sugar, but you'd have these big spikes ups and downs. So I think they started to add a little bit of fat to kind of normalize that, you know, the big ups and downs, the spikes and crashes out a little bit. You know, I don't think, you know, there's not like one population that needs one thing more than another. I think it's just going to be about how do you operate on it, you know, and where are you in your, you know, kind of athletic career when you were a soccer player. I don't know if you could have operated on, you know, with a bunch of fat. I mean, that'd be an interesting experiment to kind of have, but it's just whatever makes you feel good. I mean, in my opinion, I always try to tell people like, you know, hey, I have a soccer game. What should I eat? Eat whatever makes you feel good and fast. Don't eat like a beef stew and feel like sluggish and then you want to take a nap.
Yeah.
Something light that's something makes you feel fast and jumpy. You know, if it makes you feel slow and whatever, probably shouldn't eat that. And I would say in general, that's going to be more lean protein, high carbohydrate.
I feel that. And I think there's more so fat minimums for people. Like,
Sure.
Like there's just a threshold you shouldn't go below because
Right.
fuck with your hormones.
Yes.
But, you know, it's what you said about the soccer thing. I think if I tried it and I gave myself the time to get used to it, I could have done a high fat, low carbohydrate when I played soccer because, I mean, I know there's not running in Jiu Jitsu, but the cardiovascular demands, it's like I'm doing that just fine. You know what I mean? So,
but you're also in a different, you know, hormonal time period in your life.
You're
so
right. Yeah.
I think we have to,
and when I was young,
I think we have to kind of look at that and say, like, as a younger person, you can take advantage of carbohydrates in a much more efficient and better anabolic way. So why fuck with that?
That's true. No, like for a kid, I wouldn't say that a kid should like limit carbohydrates or anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you there.
Oh,
hey,
Hey.
real quick,
Uh-oh.
I may escape to go roll with some people.
Oh.
I'm gonna be back.
You're going to go kill some people?
I'm gonna get killed and do some killing.
Oh.
But-
Well, we can wrap her up.
You don't need to wrap her out.
Yeah, I think we're good.
We're
Wrap
good?
it
That's
around.
a
Reach
show.
around.
Oh,
Wrap it up.
a couple of reach arounds.
Hmm?
No,
I don't know if we can do a quadruple reach around. We
Dude.
could, technically, yes.
Choo-choo
I
train?
choose to be in the back of the line, though.
Oh.
Who's going to be in the front?
Have you put much thought to that before?
I
Or
just
was
did
that
it right
just-
now,
was
and
that-
I was like-
okay, all right.
Yeah.
I'll believe you.
You're just a little bit too quick, huh?
Yes, I think that was. You should have paused a little bit.
So we got a seminar coming up here, huh?
Yes,
do.
Ben Patrick's coming, man. It's gonna be great. I mean, we finally we got everything finalized, and you know what? This will go pretty quick, right?
yeah,
this will be out.
This is live right now.
Oh, this is live.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Half of the VIP experience is sold out. Half of the free spots are gone. So if you're
What?
interested,
Damn.
I think on all socials there are links to go and get it. So if you're
Cool.
interested in seeing Ben Patrick and Mark Bell spit some knowledge at you,
That's not how you
get
say
on it.
knowledge, Jesse.
knowledge.
That's not how you say it.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. You just.
it's
I'm not sure if I
knowledge.
believe anything that
It's-
you say after what you just said.
It's acknowledged.
What about
Knowledge.
your- What about your knees?
I do
Knees
feel
over
dumb.
toe seminar.
Knees over so seminar? Damn it! Damn it! That's good. Wow.
We always come up with some good shit together, dude.
I know we do, and it's after the fact too. That's the worst part. Oh well.
Anytime. Well,
You gonna be there?
Oh hell yeah.
You're a
but
busy
it's already
guy.
halfway sold out.
Oh,
Is there
shit.
going to be enough room for us?
For
Like for us four here? Or
we'll
should we be
make
able to
we'll
it?
make room for you guys somehow, some way. It's gonna be cool. I'm really excited to see the guy. He seems to be one of those people that I would like to go and see at a seminar, but like every day to day, I could not handle that guy. Just way too much high energy, and I'd be like, all right, you need to leave, or you need to, go take a nap. Go sit down
You
and
asked
eat
me
a
for his
cheesecake.
number, and I was like, "Here we go."
Yeah.
It's like he is on all the time.
The
He
energy
must
that
be
man has.
exhausted.
Oh.
He's amazing, and I'm super excited to see what he's able to kind of do. It's going to be really, really cool, entertaining, a lot of information. I'm just going to be exhausted, even just being there and
And
watching him do it.
are you running a powerlifting meet coming up?
I am. Record Breakers is coming back. Yeah, we got about 8 weeks. The pro day is about halfway full. The amateur day is about 80% full, I think. So yeah, we're gonna bring it back and start doing some meets and everything. Should be
I'm
really
gonna
cool.
come there and deadlift my body weight. It's gonna be sick. It'll be awesome. Can't wait.
It'd be amazing.
It'll be good.
All right,
That'll be
Andrew,
great.
take us on out of here, buddy.
Thank you, Magic Spoon, for sponsoring today's episode. MagicSpoon.com/Power Project. Head over there to get your $5 off of your variety pack. Thank you, everybody, on the live chat. Really appreciate you guys. Make sure you hit the like button on the way out of today's video. Please follow the podcast at Mark Bell's Power Project on Instagram, at MB Power Project on TikTok and Twitter. My Instagram and Twitter's at I am Andrew Z, at the Andrew Z on TikTok, and Nsima, where you be.
Nsima Inyang on Instagram and YouTube, and Nsima Inyang on TikTok and Twitter. Mark, Jesse.
Jesse Burdick on all socials.
There we go.
Ken somehow turned into like Maria, I think, in terms of the core power stuff. It's another story for another day. Strength is never weakness, weakness never strength. Catch you guys later.